Well, welcome back to another story. This one is from Gabon, and it's from Roriv Vinga, who's 22. And the title of the story is called A Real Missionary. A Real Missionary. Do you know what that means? Why do you think the story is called A Real Missionary? What is it? What is a real missionary? I want you to think about that as I read this story. Roriv Vinga introduced a friend to Christ when he was only a boy. Father, a soldier in the Gabonese military, was stationed in the eastern city of Kulamotu, so Roriv moved into a new home there with his parents and 4 younger brothers and sisters. But they had a problem. There were no other Seventh-day Adventists in the city. There was a church, but it had been closed for many years because no one worshipped there anymore. The building was old and falling apart. Father called Roriv and the rest of the family to repair the church. We will worship God on Sabbaths in the church even if we are the only Adventists in the city, Father said. The family worked hard to repair the church, and soon they worshipped there every Sabbath, every Wednesday for prayer meeting, and every Friday for sundown worship. At school, Roriv made new friends. He loved Jesus and he loved to talk about Jesus. A new friend, Glenn, was curious and asked to know more. The 2 boys began to talk about Jesus after school. One Friday evening, Roriv arrived at the church for sundown worship with father, mother, his little sister, and 3 little brothers. To his surprise, he saw Glenn standing outside the church. "What are you doing here?" Roriv asked. "I live next door," Glenn said. "Great," Roriv said. "Join us." Glenn couldn't come to church that day, but he promised to visit another time. 2 weeks later, he showed up for a Sabbath service worship, and he liked it. "This church is different," he said. Several months later, Glenn gave his life to Christ and was baptized. After that, he invited his whole family to church, and they also were baptized. Glenn told Roriv that he had been praying for God to lead him to the right church when Roriv's family moved to the city. "I never realized that the right church was located right beside my house," he said. Roriv was happy that Glenn and his family had given their hearts to Jesus. As time passed, more and more people worshipped in the church on Sabbaths. An unusual dream. Roriv grew up and moved to Gabon's capital, Libreville, to go to the university. He made new friends and became active in the Samari Seventh-day Adventist Church, but he noticed that the church was located in a bad neighborhood. Many young people his age used drugs and drank alcohol around the church. Some were thieves and they broke into the church several times. One day, Roriv wondered, can God change these people? He doubted it and thought, no, they are lost. That night, he had a dream. Many people don't have running water in their homes in Gabon and have to take buckets to a neighborhood water tap to fetch water. In the dream, Roriv went to the water tap to fetch water and a young man tried to steal his wallet. The man slid his hand into Roriv's pocket, but his hand came out empty. The thief was surprised to find his hand empty, and Roriv smiled at him. "Silver and gold I do not have, but what I do have I give to you," he said. Then he told the young man about Jesus. When Roriv woke up, he knew that God had answered his question. He must share Jesus with the thieves, drug users and drinkers who lived near the church. When his church organised an evangelistic meeting a short time later, Roriv invited thieves, drug users and drinkers to come to the program. 6 young people whom he invited were baptised. Roriv is thrilled that God has used him to lead people to baptism. He has an important question to ask everyone who goes to church on Sabbath. If God used me, why couldn't he use you? He said. Part of a 2017 13th Sabbath offering helped open a Seventh-day Adventist high school in Libreville, Gabon. Thank you for helping people to learn about Jesus in school. So this week, I'd like you to think about the story and seek out opportunities to talk about Jesus and to invite some of your friends to church that don't come. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you next week in another story. Bye-bye.